Ladies and gentlemen, podcasting since 2005. You're listening to Gamertag Radio with your hosts, podcaster Hall of Famer Danny Peña, the always opinionated Paris Lilly, and from outside of the norm, Peter Toledo. This is Gamertag Radio.
Welcome to Gamertag Radio, episode 1160. This is your host, Danny Peña, live from Los Angeles, podcasting to the world. On this episode, we're going to have Ubisoft. They're going to be talking about the new Far Cry 6 game that's coming out later this year. It was an amazing conversation. We talked about the story, lots of things about the story, and I think you guys are going to enjoy it. It was a great conversation. Must listen. And please, for those that are listening, let me know your thoughts, your feedback. Just hit me up, Danny@gamertagradio.com, or just hit us up, fanmail@gamertagradio.com, and I will read it on the show, or just hit me up also on Twitter. I'll be there. I'm very active over there, you know what I'm saying? So, but yeah, like I was saying, it was a great conversation. I can't wait. Now, here's the one thing I wanted to say though. I have a lot of footage of me playing the game, so that one is also available on my YouTube channel. Just look up Danny Peña. It will be there. Or go to Twitter. I'm going to be posting some videos there of my experience, my gameplay experience, everything about it. So please let me know your thoughts. Now, if you would like to be part of our FAML discussion, of course, we love FAML. We have questions from people. Keep it up, guys. Keep it up. We're going to save it until Paris and Pete, or we all together, or just one of us, we're going to reply to you guys because I can't wait. These questions are pretty good, so please keep it up. And here's how you could be part of our fan mail segment or episode. Check it out.
Send us your feedback or questions. Give us a call at 786-273-7GTR. Email us at fanmail@gamertagradio.com or leave a message on speakpipe.com/gamertagradio.
September 30th. Yes, that's right. September 30th. That's International Podcast Day. And I'm going to have a special session on Bright, exclusively there, nowhere else, about how to make money with your podcast, with your content. It's going to be a great conversation. Sorry about that. I'm planning to have a couple guests on the show to talk about it, and I might have some surprises for you guys. So go right now to brightlive.com, search for my name, Danny Peña, or under the description of this episode of Gamertag Radio, I have the link there, and you could just click it, reserve your spot. It's going to be jam-packed with a lot of people there, so this is your opportunity to go and reserve your spot right now. What I'm going to do is play the interview, and once I come back, I have a few things to say about Far Cry 6. So we'll be right back after this.
You're listening to Gamertag Radio.
All right, so we have Navid from Ubisoft. We're going to be talking about Far Cry 6. Navid, can you tell us your full name and your title of over there?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm Navid Khavari. I'm the narrative director of Far Cry 6.
Yeah, man. Hey, I played the game a couple days ago, and I really enjoyed it. Love the story. We definitely got to talk about the story, man.
Oh, that's great.
But first thing first, man, let's talk about this Caribbean island, Yara, because right before we recorded, I mentioned to you that my parents are from the Caribbean. I lived in Dominican Republic. Mm-hmm. So when I play the game, it reminded me of the island, everything. And I know this was inspired of Cuba. Have you ever traveled in the Caribbean? Have you ever been to Cuba at all, or what?
Yeah, I very early on, when we were sort of looking at the idea of being a guerrilla, when you say guerrilla, you think Cuba, 1959. So we flew down to Cuba for a research trip and there were a few trips. We spent about a month in total circumnavigating the island. And it was really just awe-inspiring. Really just meeting the people, experiencing the culture, and talking to folks down there, and just understanding, and being inspired, honestly, to leave and see how we could approach making a game like this. And then of course, though, we spent a lot of time in Cuba, and as we delve deeper into the notion of protest and revolution, we also looked a little bit at Venezuela. We looked at Colombia, and it's really just a lot. I'm so happy you got to play, because a lot of it is I hope people can see the sort of love letter to both the Caribbean and Latin America as a whole.
Yeah, definitely. What was there anything that you learned that you didn't know about Cuba before working and writing this game?
Oh, the concept of resolver was really inspiring and a surprise. Resolver, the notion of making do with what you have, which came as a result of the blockade, and it's interesting that concept. It's unbelievable to witness. The ingenuity, the creativity. We saw folks taking dishwasher motors and strapping them onto bicycles and making little motorbikes, and or a fan with pieces of records like vinyl busted up to create the wings of the fan. So we were really taken by that, and the notion of taking that and applying that to gameplay, to a guerrilla movement that is looking for using any scrap that they can have to fight back against a regime like Anton's. And so that fed into things that you just played, seeing if you see the Furioso backpack, for example. So, these sort of, fire extinguisher tubes that are filled with, emptied and then filled with, fuel, that'll create like a ring of fire and then allow you to, navigate faster. All those little inspirations just fed right into the gameplay team, and also into the story. We wanted to make a point of highlighting just how creative people can be when they're under that kind of stress.
Yeah, and what you can tell us about the main character, Danny Rojas?
Yeah, Danny is born and raised in the capital city of Esperanza. We were really excited to have a fully voiced, a fully performance captured character that you can play both male or female. And we really wanted to ground the main character as a local. That was super important to us, because if you have a revolution, if you have sort of this guerrilla combat, you need a personal investment into the fight, and we really wanted to ground the story in character. And so with Danny, you're going to follow this journey of someone who really has no attachment to staying in Yara. They really feel like they don't have a place there, and so they're actually looking to flee. And in doing so, as you saw in the trailer that was released earlier, and in the demo, they come face to face with Anton Castillo, who has different plans. And so you get to experience Danny getting swept up into this guerrilla movement, this revolution, and finding purpose in that.
Yeah, I know when Danny mentioned about Miami, because I also used to live in Miami too. I was like, oh my God,
okay.
so much memories. Caribbean, Miami, Florida, what's going on?
Right.
No, but it was cool seeing that, because a lot of people in Cuba, that's like the first place that they would love to go is Miami, So it was really cool to see that, But let's talk about Anton, man. He's ruthless. Oh my God, I was
Yeah.
really nervous seeing him in the game, man. But what you could tell us about Anton, because he's so
Yeah.
badass, man.
I mean, the starting point with Anton, as it is with any Far Cry villain, is really we got super into this idea of, you see these dictators, you see the sort of propaganda, you see them in interviews and things where they're sort of on this pedestal. Um, and what we were really curious about was like, would it be like to sit in a kitchen counter alongside a dictator,
Yeah.
sit with their family, and see their perspective, with all the cameras gone. And that was really the starting point. And this notion, that I think is really unique, to the sort of a Far Cry antagonist, is that Anton is a father, someone who is sort of grooming their son to be one in a long line of rulers of Yara. And I think that's where, Anton is someone whose father was once ruler of the country and who was, ruthlessly, killed, right next to Anton. And Anton has grown up with this notion that his Yara was stolen from him. And so when he comes to power, he really wants to do absolutely anything he can. In his eyes, he can justify it all, just to keep control of Yara, but also see his vision of the country through. So, to summarize, it really was important to us that this isn't just like a mustache twirling, bad guy, who wants to take over the world. This is someone who has a personal, deep investment, in the country, and who could sit across from you and explain, all the terrible things they're doing, and it would cause you to sort of hesitate for a second and think, maybe, just maybe, there might be a point there.
Do you think people are in the game, are the characters, are they more afraid of Anton, or they just want that freedom and they are against him?
I think it depends on the characters you're talking about. I think we tried, in the game, to have a wide breadth of reaction and personalities, and viewpoints about Anton. There's folks in Yara that support him still, and then there's folks that want nothing but to kill him, and that was really, really important to us. And I think what you'll see early on in the game, and something that Clara, Garcia, the leader of Libertad, what she sort of catches on to, is this fear of Anton. And what she's trying to do is remind people, this is just a human being, and we need to stop at nothing to guarantee the freedom of our people. And so she's working, chipping away, trying to get rid of that fear, because in her eyes, it's not so much about, the fact that you're ever going to be fearless of Anton. The fact is that they can be feared. That is her big, philosophy. So, at that point, it's about doing what's right. And I think that's really where the guerrilla's sort of perspective, lands on, in that vision that Clara is setting forth. And then you have someone like Juan Cortez, who sees it all as a game, sees Anton as just another in a long line of dictators that he's fought throughout the world. So we really wanted to capture all the different perspectives. And I think, fear, I'm glad you brought that up. Fear is such a big part of what, as a guerrilla, you need to sort of overcome, or, as Clara says, just accept that that's always going to be there, and that doesn't stop you from doing what you have to do.
Yeah, and what about the young character? I think his name is Diego. That's his name.
Yes.
Yeah, what you can tell us about him? He looks like he's confused. He's like in a very tough spot. Like he probably doesn't know what to do, where to go. So, what you can tell us about him?
Yeah, Diego is really a conflicted teenager, and that's what was really important to capture. Is we imagine being, a teenager. You're trying to figure out what feelings are, and your place in the world, and how to process and find your own way. But take that and translate it to being the son of a ruthless dictator. And I think with Diego, first and foremost, we wanted you to find this kid is just conflicted. I think Diego deep down knows that what Anton is doing is wrong, knows that they don't want to be a part of how Anton is running things, but at the same time, he loves his father, and he can't lose that. That's just a part of who he is. And so, I used to describe it, and still do, as sort of he's riding a razor's edge. He will, over the course of the game, be trying to make a decision of how he becomes his own person, and can he even do that. So we really wanted to dive into the complexity of that familial sort of relationship between Diego and Anton, and then you throw Danny into the mix, and you have this sort of triad of conflict.
So I know you mentioned that you and your team went to visit Cuba to get inspired of like the location, the culture, the way how the people speak over there too, because they have some street language, street slang that you only will hear it either in Cuba or in certain places in
Yep.
Miami, right? So were you also involved with like selecting the voice actors based on the writing that you have, and also the music? Because I think that's also very important. Because one thing what I did, I turned on the radio because I just wanted to hear what type of music is in the game too. So, and I think you guys did a pretty good job, man, selecting the right type of genre of music for the game.
Oh, I appreciate that. I'll pass that to our audio director as well. I think
Hmm.
the main thing was we wanted to be as sensitive and as authentic as we could.
Hmm.
So what we did early on, both in terms of casting, but also in terms of writing, was reach out to sensitivity experts, but also authenticity experts, and not just like one person. And we're going to do this at one point
Hmm.
in development. We had multiple perspectives and had checkpoints throughout the course of development, and that ranged everything from folks from Cuba looking at the branding that we had in the game, to we brought on one of our actors, Manuel, who also writes. We brought him on along with our voice coach, Carlos Diaz, who joined us, actually joined the writing team, and went through all the scripts. We did everything, and it came up with ideas with us, checked our slang and how we were approaching authenticity, and it made such a difference. I think in it just feeling grounded and real. So
Hmm.
I'm excited for folks to play it, to see. They also put their own little jokes and Easter eggs and things like
Yeah,
that
yeah.
in there. So I think there was that side, of then absolutely the music. Eduardo Weissman, our audio director, he's from Argentina, so he went all out in terms of references. He worked in Cuba. He reached out to different musicians, and created even Anton's the sort of anthem of the game was recorded by a real marching band sort of thing. So I think it just adds that layer of this feels like an authentic place, and it is again about honoring the culture. We didn't just want to come in and make things up. We wanted to work with folks to make it feel as truthful as it could.
Yeah, I mean, how much of original music is in the game? Because I know the one that I listened to, it sounded very like the old school Cuban music of salsa, like the old school salsa from like the 80s and 70s
Yeah,
around there.
we definitely licensed some old school tracks, but we did, there's a few tracks in there that we created. We worked with various musicians to create some custom songs.
Hmm.
Some of them, which I'm not going to spoil,
No, don't spoil
which are
it.
to serve the narrative as well. I mean, all of it serves a narrative, but some
Yeah.
specific key points in the narrative. We brought in some musicians to join our journey, and
Mhm.
I'm not gonna spoil that for you.
Yeah, yeah.
I think you'll be excited.
It's cool, cool. So my last question, I don't know if any journalist is
Of
going to ask
course.
you this, but what was your favorite Cuban food and your favorite drink when you went to Cuba?
Oh, that is a good question. I
Yes.
think I loved the simple stuff. And I'll tell you, it was when we visited a farm, and they just made an amazing uh, uh, like rice and beans.
Oh,
But they
yes. Was it
also
black beans?
had,
Black beans?
yeah,
Oh,
yeah, yeah,
yeah, yeah.
yeah.
Really
And
good.
and
Yeah.
they also had I think it's a hutia.
Hmm.
It's the animal. It's like a tree, it's a very small tree, sort of mammal, and they cooked that up, and they stripped off the meat and had rice and black beans, and then they made like coffee, like old school, like on the pot. It was just the simple stuff.
Yeah.
That's what I loved, because it felt so natural, and it's sort of in your head.
Hmm.
You're like, oh my god, I have a lot of preservatives back at
Yeah.
home. You
Yeah,
know what
yeah.
I mean?
Yeah,
Yeah.
and it's different because people think that the food in because there's a lot of Cubans in Miami, so they think that
Mm.
the food in Cuba and Miami is the same, and it's not. It's not the same at all. Yeah. So
Yeah.
you're
No,
right.
I mean, I really enjoyed the food. I really enjoyed the food. It
That's
was it
cool.
was it was really good. I didn't really have a favorite drink. I don't really drink, so
Okay, okay. Oh, it could be
so
juice or
it
anything like that. It's
yeah,
all good.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
But you
yeah,
mentioned
yeah.
coffee, so that's a drink.
Coffee was my thing, but they put a lot of sugar in that.
Oh yeah, they don't play around with that.
A
Yeah.
lot of, yeah, don't play around with that.
No,
So
that's cool, man. Do you see yourself going back over there in the future?
I'd love to. I'd
Yeah.
love to. Yeah, it's such a beautiful country,
Yeah.
and such a beautiful people. So yeah, I would really
Hmm.
love to do that.
I forgot to mention this. I know people are probably going to bring up like, oh, it's very political. What
Hmm.
is it you guys are trying to do with the story?
Yep.
Is it against the government in Cuba? What do you have to say about that?
The main thing, I posted a statement actually to
Hmm.
this effect. I think, any story about revolution is political. It will be.
Hmm.
And absolutely we were inspired by, Cuban history and politics in Cuba. The the reality though is it's an incredibly complex country. So
Hmm.
um, our story saying, a black and white sort of statement about what's happening in Cuba right now, that's just it's not that clean,
Hmm.
and really where we wanted to live in, and our story was the complexity of revolution, and try and showing that the different facets and ideologies and perspectives within that. And so I think it's not to say, we don't talk about, what it means to have a blockade around your country, what it means to fight a revolution, but it really is an incredibly complex situation. And I think the other side of it is that's important, that I've sort of been trying to explain a bit more, is, we were inspired not just by Cuba, but you're seeing protests in Venezuela, you're seeing protests in Colombia.
Hmm.
We were heavily inspired by the Arab Spring as well, the Green Revolution in Iran. And what you get in terms of Yara is sort of those commonalities in revolution, which is how a rise in sort of fighting for freedom of speech, freedom of expression, fighting for LGBTQ plus rights, fighting against all of those things, how that comes about. And I think in terms of Cuba specifically, uh, you know, what I would say is, like, I just hope that those who are speaking out, are allowed to speak out. Those that have been imprisoned for speaking out are released. But ultimately, I think I'll leave it at that, because we've worked with some folks that I don't think it's my place to talk out, and for their safety, I think I'm just going to leave it at that.
All right, cool. Well, Navid, I just want to say, man, thank you so much for the talk, for the interview. It was a lot of fun, and I can't wait for the final game, man. Can't wait to play it.
Thank you.
And
Thank you. I'm excited to hear what you think.
Yeah, I can't wait. I'm definitely going to be with my horses, going all over Jara.
Horse is my favorite way to get around.
Yeah, the car could be a little bumpy, right?
I love the car, but I love the horse. I love the freedom of the horse.
Definitely, man. Thanks a lot, man.
Thank you so much.
All right, man.
This is Gamertag Radio. Voicemail at 786-2737-GTR.
All right, so that was my interview with Navid. Great conversation. My God, that was so much fun to record. That was really cool. Really, really cool. Now, if you want to watch the video version, I'm going to have it on YouTube. It's there. Please let me know your thoughts about it, man, because I had a great time. Great time recording it. Very quick about Far Cry. Again, you can watch my gameplay footage on Twitch. I'm on YouTube. It'll be there. Or on Twitter. I'm going to have some game clips there so you can check it out and let me know your thoughts and everything. But I really enjoy the story. I think the story is so awesome. So good. Enjoy the Caribbean island of Yaras. I enjoy the soundtrack. Riding my horses, just going to one location to the next. Cars, you could do that too. And you could listen to salsa and some of the songs there. There's available in the game, which is awesome. Really, really cool. But man, it's a really good game. I enjoyed it. I really, really enjoyed it. And I can't wait for this to come out in the future. Once I get the full version of the game, I'm definitely going to review it and talk about it here on the show. But man, Giancarlo, woof, man. His character, my God, it is insane. He's so good, man, with his character, man. But I'll leave it at just that. I don't want to say much because I want you guys to be surprised. All right, so we're going to wrap it up here. Thank you for listening to Gamertag Radio episode 1160, and get ready. We have more content coming up. Thank you for listening. Until next time, we're out.
Thanks for listening to Gamertag Radio. Be sure to like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter.